What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a brand new live stream. Hope everyone's having a good week. We got Daredevil Born Again Season 2, Episode 6 review. Invincible Season 4 finale. The Boys Season 5, Episode 4 review. Plus NBA playoffs. And the NFL draft is tomorrow. I believe we will be going live on the Sportsville channel to react to the first round. I will be doing my final mock draft near the end of the stream. So lots of good stuff. But we'll start off with Daredevil first. Just get the banner going. What's up? What's up, Dragonfire? Yeah, starting off with Daredevil. It's a pretty solid episode. I enjoyed it for what it was. It was a bit inconsistent at times. Love the opening of, Vanessa is now dead, and love the acting from the Kingpin actor. He did a very good job. Where the doctor's there, and he gives his condolences and everything, and offers him a hug. So Kingpin hugs him, and you knew the guy was gonna die. So he just, when he hugs him, just squeezes the shit out of him, and pretty much kills him there. And of course, Buck's there to cover it up. But immediately set the tone for the episode. Kingpin already crashing out. Yeah, I know. Later on, they have like a wake for Vanessa. And I do like how everybody's dressed in black, but Kingpin's dressed in all white. I like how that symbolizes that he's all alone. And the governor said that, like, with Vanessa gone, like, there's nobody there to keep Kingpin grounded or hold him back in a way. So now he's completely unhinged, unpredictable. So I do like that aspect of it. And we later see that it's Daniel's birthday, and he's talking with BB, at the place, and then Buck happens to be there, and he pulls him aside and said, like, hey, listen, man, you need to chill out and stuff. And of course, he's not going to make Daniel bury another body on his birthday, but Buck suspects that BB's the one leaking stuff, and Daniel tries to protect her and say, like, no, it's not her. I know for a fact it's not her, but he's like, with what proof? So he tells Daniel to give her false information to see if she would, bite the bait. And, just to get back to him on the results. So then later on, we see Bullseye being held captive by Daredevil and Karen Page. And, Karen's not happy about the whole situation. And that, how she feels that Bullseye should be dead or whatever. So this episode kind of just slows down a bit. We see Heather in this episode, unfortunately. Yeah, Karen's crash out is pretty valid. But we see Heather in the episode, and she, like, wanders around through Vanessa's room, and Buck's there, and they start talking. and she tells him what Muse put her through. So he's like, show me. And then there's this really weird scene where she's like choking him and stuff. It was a really weird scene. I didn't really get the point of it, but it's whatever. Then what else happened this episode? I'm trying to remember everything. It gets like really good at the end, like really good, but throughout most of it, it is pretty slow. But Daniel takes BB to his mom's house for his birthday. Which I was worried I was going to forget about that. But yeah, Jessica Jones returns in this episode. We get this scene where it's not the task force, but it's CIA agents who come to attack, or not really attack, but get her help or whatever. And so she pretty much destroys them. And then we see her daughter, which it's her and Luke Cage's daughter, playing with like a smoke bomb or whatever. So like she goes in there and says, "This is not a toy," even though if the thing did go off, it wouldn't really affect her much because she has Luke Cage's like impenetrable skin or whatever, so it really had no effect on her. But later on, she goes to Daredevil and tells him that they came to our house and stuff. So then we get this really awesome fight scene of Daredevil and Jessica Jones fighting, task force agents, which was pretty cool. But later on, at Daniel's mother's house, BB's like snooping around and stuff, trying to like find whatever she can. So then later on, like at a little dinner thing, she says happy birthday, and she looked like she was about to kiss him, but then he takes a step back and saying like, what is this? What are you doing? He goes into her pocket, pulls out like a small little device or something, like really? And he's like, I'm not even sure if I can protect you from him anymore. And then as he says that, pulls out his phone and Buck's calling him. So we see the pressure that Daniel's under. So he's obviously going to have to make a choice. He's either going to have to stay loyal to Kingpin, or he's going to have to, choose to protect her and stick with her. And, either way, we'll see what happens. But I think there's a very good chance that Daniel could die at the end of the season, but we'll see. But we see Bullseye and Karen Page talking, and like, she hates his guts for valid reasons. And I believe earlier she told Matt that, when she killed Wesley in the original Daredevil show, that, she didn't have a choice, and that, she doesn't regret it. She doesn't look back on it. So in this scene, you can tell Bullseye wants to die, and he's talking about Foggy and all that. Then we see the flashbacks of Foggy from the original series, and then like his death scene in season 1 of Born Again. So like he explains that like, Vanessa had him kill Foggy for his freedom. So you see Karen point the gun at his head, and he's like, go on, do it. and she's about to do it, but Daredevil stops her, and then she just completely lashes out on Matt, telling him like, you choose not to kill the people who deserve it over standing by the people who love you. And yeah, the actor who plays Karen, um, her acting in this episode is phenomenal. Great performance by her, and you can see that like Matt's shocked by this. And you see that both Karen and Heather are, going into a downward spiral into darkness. So near the end of the episode, best part of the episode, um, Matt Murdock goes to Kingpin and says like, "I'm sorry for your loss," and we see, how everything's affected Kingpin, and he's just sitting there staring at a blinking screen. And he's like, "I know you didn't just come here to offer your condolences." Um, which a little bit earlier we see, the protesters that are in support of Daredevil or just anybody against Kingpin. Um, they form like a big crowd in front of the building that he's in. You have a bunch of task force agents there as well. And we see Karen, in disguise, incognito. She starts playing the what do you call it? The tapes of those people who were imprisoned in, the imprisonment, cages, um, you know, explaining their side and just playing it, it being portrayed on the building, and it was loud so everybody could hear it and see it. Basically exposing Kingpin and the task force. So then things start getting intense. So then Matt, tells Kingpin or asks him to leave New York and never come back, and that he'll leave too. But of course, he doesn't agree to this and completely just crashes out. And then we get this big, epic fight scene between Kingpin and Daredevil. It's very awesome, very entertaining. The emotion Kingpin shows into it, where like he's going at him, punching him, and he because he's so big and strong, he breaks a ton of bricks and stuff, and he's like screaming. Just love I love the passion and emotion that was put into this fight scene. I agree, it was peak. It's the first time they've fought like in the Born Again show. It's the first time they've fought since the season 3 finale. I'm pretty sure, even though I haven't gotten that far yet. Um, but it was really good, really entertaining. Probably the best part of the season so far. But both of them are like bloodied up and stuff. And then the episode ends, which I forgot to mention, that Buck has that task force chief to kill that other guy because he gets exposed as the leak, even though it wasn't actually him. And he uses it as an excuse for the task force to fire upon the protesters. So then everything's going crazy, and then the guy stumbles upon Karen Page, and he's like, "Holy shit!" And the episode pretty much ends there. So it was a pretty good cliffhanger. Love the Daredevil Kingpin fight. Really good episode. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. A bit inconsistent at times, but still pretty enjoyable. So Good episode, 8.5 out of 10. Okay. But now we're gonna transition to The Boys. Almost said season 4. Season 5, episode 4. Okay. But hate to say it, don't want to be that guy, but I have to be that guy. I'm very disappointed. After episode 1 being really good, season 5 has just gotten worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. I thought episode 1 was great. That episode 2 was around an average episode. Episode 3, I felt was kind of mid. Episode 4 is the worst episode of the season so far. I'm not even sure like where to begin. But the episode pretty much opens up with Homelander talking to Firecracker about his like vision or hallucination of Madeline Stillwell, even though he doesn't actually say it was Madeline Stillwell, but basically telling Firecracker that he intends to become a god, and he smells Soldier Boy all over her, but she lies and says that they're just prepping for an interview or whatever. But she's obviously terrified of him and can't really blame her. But he has her like promote this like, oh, Homelander's going to be this like one true god or whatever. So that's the main plot point of this episode out of many. Then we see Ryan at the place where the boys are, and he's recovering from his injuries, and he and Butcher have some dialogue where Ryan believes that Butcher does not care for him at all. So he ends up leaving, and then Butcher asks Frenchie how about the progress of the virus, and he tells him that like, yeah, it's going to take weeks. So Huey suggests that they go to Fort whatever it is, I can't remember the name of it, to see if they can find any V1 vials or whatever. So like that's the main objective of the episode. Then we see Sage talking with Soldier Boy, and he tells her that Homelander intends to go to this location to find this V1 so he can become immortal just like him and stuff. And that's the only reason Soldier Boy goes with Homelander, because he does not want Homelander to obtain this V1, because he knows if he does, then Homelander will be immortal just like him, and he'll be stuck with him for eternity. Because Soldier Boy has made it abundantly clear he does not care about Homelander. He doesn't like Homelander. He does not respect Homelander. So that's pretty much their dynamic at the moment. Where so then another plot point that I really just do not care about is Starlight. We see her go visit her biological father and talk with him on how long it's been and like why he left her when she was a kid and stuff like that. And she discovers that he has a brand new family. He has a son. He's got a wife, and the son does not like her at all. Basically, like he fully supports Homelander. He believes that Starlight is a terrorist, and she's done all these horrible things that are not true. So yeah, I really just did not care about that plot point. So her dad explains that he regrets leaving her, and that the reason he did it was because her mother saying that she was a gift from God, and that she got her to believe that when she was a kid. It just got too much for him. That's why he left. And he says, I regret it. I should have stood up for you a long time ago. So I do kind of like that aspect in a way. And then she tries to talk to her half brother, to try to have a heart to heart with him, and doesn't really, work out that much. Because he does end up snitching on her and calling the cops on her, and a cop does show up there, and you get this intense scene, but her dad's able to talk him down, and so he just gives her an hour and then leaves. And she does end up leaving, and that's really it. At least she gets good closure on that, but still, I just really didn't care. Starlight used to be a good character, but man, yeah, I know. The Deep and Black Noir did nothing in this episode. Yeah, they bickered like once, and they had a little podcast thing, but it really wasn't that much. It just really did nothing for the main story. So back to the fort, whatever it's called. The boys arrive there, and like there's a bunch of like dead people like everywhere, and they go into the building, and there's like this guy that is causing like the character's like deepest like feelings to come out, but it's affecting everybody but Frenchie, because all the drugs that Frenchie did made him immune to it, so that it had no effect on him. But it was causing the everyone else to like turn on each other, and it was just so like it was so forced and so ridiculous and just completely unnecessary. See Butcher go after Huey first, and then Huey insults MM, and then Kumiko starts going crazy. So everyone just starts chasing after each other. It just was just completely unnecessary. And we see Homelander and Soldier Boy arrive there later on. So then they go into the building, and Homelander and Soldier Boy start going at it. So then Soldier Boy traps Homelander into like this room with like some sort of toxin or whatever that won't kill Homelander, but it'll slow him down and make him weak and stuff, and it starts affecting him. So he's pretty much trapped in there for like the majority of the episode, which easily the best part of the episode is when Butcher's going after Huey, and then he stumbles upon Homelander trapped in there. And I love the dialogue between them of like them telling each other that they're going to kill one another. And Homelander's like, you don't have the virus, do you? If you did, you would have tried it by now already. So Homelander knows that Butcher has like no upper hand, and Homelander's like, when I get V1, I'm going to destroy everybody. And Butcher's like, no, that's not going to happen, and stuff like that, which According to the trailer, Homelander does get V1. It's just a matter of when and not if. But that was easily the best scene in the episode. But Frenchie does run into Soldier Boy, which Soldier Boy tends to find V1, destroy every vial so that Homelander can't become immortal. So then he goes after Frenchie, and then we see this dude that Soldier Boy knew back in the day that, sort of helped him get on to Dr. Vought's trials and how he got Compound V into him and stuff. So Frenchie rage baits him into, killing that guy. So that works, and then everybody just starts going back to normal. Kumiko says sorry to Huey and helps him out, and then they apologize to each other, and they end up leaving the site. And then Homelander breaks out of that place, and then he goes to Soldier Boy with his laser eyes on, and he's like, "Are you crying?" And Soldier Boy's like, "Just get on with it already." But Homelander chooses not to kill Soldier Boy and just walks off. And then later on, we see the boys back at their HQ. We see Starlight and Huey reunited, which I really don't like Huey and Starlight's dynamic this season. It just feels completely off. Where like at one point during the episode, like Huey's like ranting to Kumiko saying like, she's making everything about herself again, and he calls her a bitch. And I'm like, dude, like she freaked out last episode because you almost died. Like how do you think she was gonna react? But they make up again, and I think it's clear as day that Frenchie and Kumiko are not going to end up together because, yeah, they do care about each other. I'm not going to deny that, but they clearly want different things. So either they're not going to end up together at all, or one or both of them are going to die. That's my prediction. And then we see Butcher and MM start talking, and MM's like, "Don't pretend or don't say that you didn't mean the things that you said, because we both know you do." And they're like, "Are we good? Are we good?" So, and then the episode pretty much ends with Homelander at that freaking ceremony at that guy's church where they announcing that he's going to become a god, and the final shot is like a white light and him just looking at the camera, and the episode just pretty much ends there. But yeah, I'm going to give it a 7.3 out of 10. I'm very disappointed. This episode was just not very good. Yeah, like everyone turning on each other and fighting was just so forced and unnecessary. Yeah, Homelander and Butcher carrying the final season. I'd say Homelander and Butcher have been the best characters of the season so far. But other than that, Huey's character sucks this season. Yeah, I know. Also, where is the Gen V characters? Like, we only got 4 episodes left, and I still don't understand the full story of the season. Yeah, like it's not just a slow start anymore. It's practically the whole season. Like, because you still have 4 episodes left, and a lot of things, unanswered. But yeah, like, where are the Gen V characters? Like, most of them are supposed to be a part of the anti-Homelander, anti-Vought resistance group or whatever. Like, we haven't seen Marilyn Monroe like once, or whatever her name is. Yeah, I really don't like what they've done with Soldier Boy this season. Like, he was way better in season three. Now he's just kind of like just there for comedic relief and to set up the Vault Rising prequel that's coming out next year. So I'm not really a fan of it, to be honest. Um, but yeah, very disappointing. Um, I have to wait until the full season's out, but I don't think it'll be worse than season four and season two. But you know, it's nowhere near season one and season three. Okay, but that out of the way, gonna be transitioning to Invincible, season four finale. But yeah, yeah, this isn't me hating. This is just being honest. The season four finale is the worst finale in Invincible. Because it is kind of boring at times. Now, I did enjoy the the opening scene where it's a nightmare where Thrag and the Viltrumites arrive to Earth and just chaos just starts unraveling, and you see like them destroying the planet and just um killing as many humans as possible. And then Nolan snaps Mark out of it, saying like, you need to get some sleep. We don't even know if they're there yet. So like, you obviously see that Mark wants to get to Earth as quickly as possible. So when they actually get to Earth's atmosphere, Mark immediately like flies down there and pretty much like scours like the whole planet. Um, just to come to the realization that they're not even there yet, which is a good sign for them. So then Mark goes back home to see um, his mom, Debbie, and then he hallucinates Thrag killing her right in front of him. Um, but, it's just a hallucination. That happens several times throughout the episode. So he talks to her for a bit, and then he goes to see Eve. So it's good to see their reunion again. We see Nolan talking with Debbie. Obviously, she still has a lot of animosity towards him, rightfully so. Um, so I like the dialogue between them. We see Zoe reunite with her dad. We get like two scenes of Alan taking over the coalition of planets. And then, and Mark goes to see, you know, um, William and the other guy with Eve. He hallucinates and Nissa taking out people. So then he goes off with Eve, and the guy William's with understands where he's coming from. And then we see Cecil and Donald try to bring back Monster Girl and Robot. But they open a portal to the wrong dimension, and like this creature like comes through and causes a bunch of chaos. So Cecil calls it off and says they're gonna have to find their own way home. So then later on, we see Mark talking with Eve on the rooftop, and he hallucinates Thrag killing her. He, of course, snaps out of it, and then Eve, confesses to him, which this is a pretty controversial thing. But Eve confesses that she was pregnant, but she got an abortion. Um, Very emotional scene there. Um, so they both break down crying, and then Mark, hugs her. And see this throughout the episode. And one thing I just don't like is Mark blames himself for it. Like he's like, I should have stayed with you. I left you all alone. This is all my fault. Like, she didn't tell you, so how could you have known? Like, what do you have done? So I don't like that he blames himself for it when she didn't tell him. Like, it was beyond your control. I mean, she didn't even give you a choice, So I wasn't really a fan with how they handled that. And then they kind of just brush it off like it's nothing. Um, then we see Nolan talking with Cecil, and I really like that reunion. I love the dialogue between them. Where Nolan's like, if it means anything, I'm sorry. And Cecil's like, definitely means something. Doesn't mean enough, but it means something. you know, and he and Cecil tells him to get the F off my planet, and Dolan's like, I almost died, and he's like, good, maybe you should almost die like 1,000 more times or whatever. But I do think Nolan is, trying his best to, redeem himself and make up for what he's done. But, even he knows, like, what he did was, unforgivable in season one, which I do like how, he's at the spot where he nearly beat Mark to death, and he's, hearing the voices, in his head from the season one finale of what he was yelling at Mark. So I enjoyed that a lot. We do see Mark talk to Cecil later on, which I don't know why the frick does Mark not address Conquest still being alive, but apparently I understand there's like bigger things going on, but still, like Conquest almost killed Mark again. And he doesn't bring that up. He's like, why didn't you tell me Conquest was still alive? So so they kind of just gloss that over. And then we see more of Mark talking with Eve, where like he's just sitting in the empty house. Which I forgot to mention that Debbie does go to, decides that she wants to see Oliver, and she reveals, earlier on that her and Paul broke up. Like she said that like he's a good man, and she she likes him a lot, but she didn't want him to be more involved with her life because her life was too crazy. So they mutually decided to break up. And, so she decides to go to Telestria with Nolan to see Oliver. So then they go off to space. And that's where the characters end the season there. And then Eve tells Mark to go take a flight. So he goes to do that to like clear his head. And then finally he stumbles upon Thrag. And this time it's not a hallucination. He's actually there. And he's like, just how he does in the comics, he says, yes, we are here. So then he goes to attack Thrag, and of course he didn't learn his lesson because it doesn't do any damage on Thrag, doesn't move 1 centimeter. So then Thrag tells him to stop, and it's like, I haven't done anything to your planet, not yet anyway. But if you keep being irrational, and Mark's like, what do you want? So then Thrag gives him an ultimatum saying like that we intend to, save our race and repopulate. We will live among humanity, whether you like it or not. And it says that, we plan to repopulate our race with humans. You're living proof of that. It can be done. And he says, like, if you try to remove us or interfere with us anyway, we will massacre the planet and take out as many humans as possible. So he said, and Thrag pretty much says, like, you don't have a choice yet. You have to make one. The line delivery was phenomenal. And at first, Mark is like, no way in hell I'm letting you do that. Clenches up his fists and getting ready to fight him. But then he stops and thinks. We see like all the hallucinations he went through of Thrag massacring Debbie, Eve, Cecil, etc. So then he changes his mind and says, yes, I agree to your terms. And even Thrag's like shocked, kind of surprised like this. He was expecting a little more resistance. But, Thrag says that, like, as long as you hold your end of the bargain, we will not influence Earth, harm Earth, humans, or aid in any way. So, and he goes, you will not see me again. And Mark instantly regrets it and says, like, what have I done? And Thrag says, you have saved so many lives. You've saved the human race and our race. You are our savior, whether you like it or not. And then he just leaves. And Thrag's pretty much going to be like the main villain through the rest of the series. It's going to take a lot to beat him, which in the comics, Mark does eventually reach his full potential and kills Thrag, but that won't be for a long time. But the season ends there. Then we get the post-credit scene. Alan gets like an encrypted message from Thetis, because Thetis was the one who wanted him to take over if, he did die. So he plays the video and he discovers the Scourge virus. And in the message, Thetis wants Alan to release the Scourge virus and wipe out every remaining Viltrumite, including Mark, Oliver, and Nolan, Thrag. Like, anybody who's a Viltrumite, it'll wipe out the rest of their race. Because it's not the original Scourge virus, it's a perfected one, so it'll take out any Viltrumite left. And part of the reason Thetis didn't release it is he feared that it would take out, species that had similar genetics to Viltrumites. So there is a possibility that the Scourge virus could take out humans as well, since they're perfectly compatible with humans. So the season pretty much ends there. I don't think it was a horrible episode, but I don't think it was a great a great episode. It's nowhere near being on par as the season 1 finale, Where I Really Come From. I don't think it's as good. I don't think it's anywhere close to the season 3 finale. But I don't think it was a bad episode either. It was just kind of like a slow episode, which I don't mind, it being like character buildup and, character and storytelling. I don't mind that, but for a finale, it just didn't really feel like a finale. It felt like a setup for the next season. I felt like last week's episode felt like a true finale because mainly because of the action, though. But the lack of action in this episode is not the problem or not the main problem. I just wasn't a fan of, some things that they did and how they went about things. Um, but that being said, I'm going to give it a 7.7 out of 10. Not bad, but not great. It's an average episode for me. But that will conclude our episode reviews. I think Daredevil Born Again had the second best episode for this week's TV shows. Maul is the best one though because I just loved episode 6. I haven't watched Maul. I haven't watched anything Star Wars because Disney kind of ruined Star Wars for me. Sorry, I don't mean to sound like a hater. But we'll get into our film news. I just got to get the page pulled up. No, you're right. Disney did ruin Star Wars. I mean, I like the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian. I never watched season 3. I heard that season 3 was terrible. Yeah, I haven't watched anything Star Wars since Mandalorian season 2. Okay. Oh God. Mike Myers says he's seen Shrek 5 and it's fantastic. In theaters June 30th, 2027. Yeah, so next summer it'll be out. It was supposed to come out a lot earlier, but it's been delayed. I mean, when the first teaser came out, the animation looked fucking horrible. Um, so I'm like, take as much time to fix the animation, like, please. But yeah, Invincible season 4 is now over. Season 5 will come out the same time next year. I think season 5 will be a lot better. Yeah. Let's see. DC's Clayface will reportedly be under 2 hours long. I am not watching this. Okay, I am not watching this. First look at the logo for DC's Man of Tomorrow. Okay. Man Spider will not appear in Spider-Man Brand New Day. Thank goodness, because that is weird. The re-release of Avengers Endgame will directly connect to Avengers Doomsday. The Russo brothers filmed some new scenes that tie the two movies together. Re-releasing in theaters September 25th. Okay, Man of Tomorrow started filming. It's supposed to come out in 2027, I'm pretty sure. First look at Ice Age 6 Boiling Point has been revealed. Okay. What did it say? A dinosaur and lava-filled madcap adventure that takes the herd to visit never-before-seen corners of the treacherous lost world. Oh, God. Official synopsis for Avengers Doomsday has been revealed. Beloved heroes from 3 distant universes will be set on a deadly collision course and face an existential threat unlike anything they've ever encountered. Okay, Disney revealed their full movie lineup all the way through 2029. Okay, Mandalorian Grogu, Toy Story 5, Moana live action. That looks horrible. Dwayne Johnson with the wig looks absolutely terrible. Jesus, something I don't even know. Doomsday, Ice Age, Star Wars, Simpsons movie 2. I didn't know there was a first one. Frozen 3. Oh, Jesus. Avengers, Secret Wars, Planet of the Apes, Lilo and Stitch 2, Incredibles 3, Coco 2, Avatar 4, and Avatar 5, X-Men. Not that exciting. Everything's shown in the first Avengers Doomsday trailer. Yeah, a lot of people try to find it online, and it's not there. So Charles Xavier sees through an excursion through the X-Mansion window. Steve Rogers has long hair and a beard, wields Mjolnir. Doctor Doom stops Thor's Stormbreaker with one hand. Shang-Chi fights Gambit inside the X-Mansion. Fantastic Four meets Thor in the New Avengers. Mystique shapeshifts into Yelena and fights the real Yelena. Not really a fan of her character. Doctor Doom has an accent and a disfigured face. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Clayface actually looks good and creepy from the teaser. All right, but that pretty much wraps our, movies and TV segment. So now we're going to be transitioning to our sports stuff, which there was a trade in the the NFL that impacts the draft a lot. See if I can find it. Which we got a couple of news actually. Let's see if I can find it. Okay, here it is. I do have to go. Well, great stream. Hope you have a good night. Have a good night, man. Appreciate you being here. All right, but the Giants trade star defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence to the Bengals in exchange for the 10th overall pick. New York now has 2 picks in the top 10. And Giants got blessed with Downs and Styles. Strong possibility. Now, I like the player the Bengals got, but I don't like the price that they gave him up for. I think giving up the 10th overall pick was a bit too much. Like if they gave up a second and a fourth or a third, then I'd probably be fine with it. But they gave up, their top 10 pick, Now, there's a chance that Dexter Lawrence is better than whoever they were going to draft with that pick. But, down the road, because he's up there in age. I mean, he's going to be 30 years old. You could have gotten a true blue chip player on defense with the 5th-year option included. That could have been really good for you down the road. So I understand the Bengals are trying to do whatever they can to improve defense. And yes, this helps you win now, but what about long term? You know what I'm saying? And they already extended them as well. But for the Giants, it's an A+, really good return for him. Bengals, I'm going to give a B-. Don't hate the trade, but I think you just gave up a little too much for him. And they're going to be signing him to a 1-year, $28 million extension through the 2028 season. So 2026, this upcoming season, he's going to get paid $18.5 million. 2027, he'll get paid $18 million. And in 2028, he'll be getting paid $28 million. Okay, who is this? Zachariah Branch. Okay. Not even going to read that. Chiefs in talk with Arizona to acquire a 3rd pick. Yeah, it does make sense for the Cardinals to trade down. The more news, A.J. Brown, according to Adam Schefter, is likely to become a Patriot post June 1st. So I think Drake May and A.J. Brown duo would be very fun to watch. AFC is going to be very competitive this year. Patriots could be one of the very rare teams that actually gets better after a Super Bowl loss, given how young most of their core is, such as Drake May, Travion Henderson, Christian Gonzalez, etc. And A.J. Brown, it's looking like he's going to fulfill his dream because he cried in his bedroom when the Patriots didn't draft him because that was his dream, to play for the team that he grew up a fan of. And it's looking like he's going to get to fulfill that dream, before his career is inevitably over. But, we'll see. So it looks like 49ers extended Williams. So that's good. Arguably still the best tackle in the class. This would be a nightmare for Evan. I mean, no one Evan would be going at it. Let's see. So Matabuke suffered a season-ending and career-threatening neck injury in week 2 of last season. He underwent neck surgery last week that leaves his doctors believing he will be able to resume playing in the 2026 season. So that is very great news. He was really good. He's arguably one of their best defensive players. They missed him a lot this season. He was phenomenal in that 2023 season where they had the best defense in football. They had the best record. They're the number one seed in the AFC, went to the AFC Championship game. You know the rest. Teams are starting to have OTAs at the moment as well. But we'll get into our NBA stuff. NBA playoffs going on. Got the draft lottery in May. All right, so maybe starting off with last playing games. So I went 1 of 1 with my predictions. So I was actually surprised that the Magic beat the Hornets, as much as they did, given how they played against Philadelphia. But Paulo, 25 points, played like the star that he's supposed to be. 23 points for the Hornets. Hornets 23 points for LaMelo, excuse me. Hornets get absolutely annihilated. This is the Magic's biggest win of the season. It's the most points they've won by. The Hornets playoff drought continues. They have not made the playoffs since 2016. It's been longer since they've won a playoff series. So Hornets fans can never catch a break. I feel horrible for them. Orlando hasn't won a playoff series in 15 years either, or it might be 16 years now. But yeah, they win this one. I would have been fine with either team winning. I felt like if the Hornets won, then Jamal Mosley would have been fired 48 hours later. But yeah, and then this one is the one that I got right. The Suns beat the Warriors after missing the playoffs with Durant, Booker, and Beal last year. they are going to make the playoffs. So the Suns have had a very surprising season, one of the most surprising teams so far. A 36 from Jalen Green, phenomenal game from him. 23 and 10 from Pods. It's confirmed that Steve Kerr is going to be leaving Golden State. So that'll be very interesting. I mean, hell of an era. Been to let me see. Been to 6 finals, won 4 out of 6. Or I probably got that wrong. I know they lost to the Cavs once. They played the Cavs 4 times, lost to them once. So that's 3 right there. They lost to the Raptors. And then they beat the Celtics. So yeah, I got it right. Okay. But yeah, 4-time NBA champion as the Warriors head coach. So yeah, things can be changing drastically for Golden State. But that's all I have to say on that. The actual playoffs start on Saturday. First game of the whole thing, the Cavs beat the Raptors. They took game 1. They annihilated them. Donovan Mitchell, 32 points, 24 from RJ Barrett. James Harden played phenomenal as well. Evan Mobley played great. Pretty much what this was experience versus inexperience. So Cavs take game 1. Arguably best game of the night was Timberwolves Nuggets. This is the best series of the first round, in my opinion. But it was a pretty back and forth game. It was tied at halftime. But Nuggets took over in the second half. Jokic with a triple-double, 25 points, 13 boards, 11 assists. Anthony Edwards did his best, 22 points. It was a very entertaining game. But Denver takes this one. And then Knicks versus Hawks. Knicks, of course, were able to do whatever they wanted. Brunson hit every shot he wanted. Cat hit every shot. Hart hit every shot. Everybody on the Knicks hit every damn shot. So very frustrating if you were rooting for the Hawks. Did get competitive at times, but Knicks were able to run away with it. 25 points, 3 blocks for Cat, only 19 for Okongwu. Not a good game from Jalen Johnson. And then the Rockets have been absolutely pathetic. Lakers take game 1. No Luka, no Austin Reeves, no Kevin Durant. 19 points, 13 assists for LeBron, 16 and 10 for Tari Eason. Luke Kennard was playing out of his mind. He had 27 points in this game, I think. So he's been playing great in the playoffs. But that's day 1. So we go to game 2 on Sunday. Celtics absolutely blow the brakes off the Sixers in game 1. This is their largest win in a playoff opener in franchise history, which is pretty wild. Both Tatum and Brown had 20 plus points. Tatum, 25 points, 11 rebounds. Jaylen Brown with 26 points, 21 from Maxey. Just wasn't much the Sixers could do. But, Celtics take game 1. Thunder annihilate the Suns. Wasn't even remotely close. J-Dub with 22, 23 from Booker. Shea didn't have to do that much, which proves he's not an MVP because, the team around him is so good. He's not the most valuable part of that team, It should go to Jokic or Wemby, but yeah. I was hoping the Suns would make it a little more competitive, but Just not a good game at all. Shocker of the night, the Magic upset the Pistons, and they did not trail this game once. The Pistons are the first team in NBA history as like a 1 seed to not lead once in their playoff opener. So yeah, 39 points from Cade Cunningham. The team around him couldn't really do much offensively. Magic played phenomenal defensively. They're very physical in this game. They're hustling. Looked like a 4 versus 5 matchup to me. Jalen Suggs was phenomenal. Banchero played well. But Orlando steals game 1. Then Wemby's playoff debut certainly did not disappoint. It was in San Antonio. I love the atmosphere at San Antonio with the fans wearing the Fiesta color shirt. Like one section is yellow, one section's blue, one section's pink, one section's orange. So I really like that they did that. It looked very awesome. It looks like a great atmosphere. Wemby with 35 points, Avia 30 and 10. Spurs won their first playoff game since 2019, so good for them. It brings us to Monday's games. Cavs annihilate the Raptors again. They go up 2-0. Brandon Ingram complained that he didn't shoot enough in game 1. Well, he shot more in this game, and he was absolutely terrible. 7 points. He was like 3 of 15, I think, from the field. I'm not really sure. But yeah, just horrible performance from Ingram so far. 30 points from Donovan Mitchell, 22 from Barrett. Cavs are up 2-0 heading into Toronto. Phenomenal game in New York. The Knicks led by 14 going into the 4th. The Hawks are able to come back. CJ McCollum played phenomenal outside of those last 2 free throws that almost cost them the game. But, he put up 32 points. Bridges goes for the game winner, misses. Hawks take game 2 in New York, steal home court, heading back to Atlanta. Alexander Walker didn't do much offensively, but he played clutch defense on Brunson, forced him to turn the ball over. So yeah, it was a great game. So definitely makes the series a lot more interesting. And then another great game, the Timberwolves take game 2 in Denver. They even that series up. Nuggets had a chance to go up 2-0. Freaking Jamal Murray, when they need a 3 to tie it going to overtime, he takes a really bad 2-point shot, and they pretty much lose the game there. I don't know what he was thinking there. But phenomenal game from Ant despite the knee injury, because he did get hurt in this game. But he put up 30 points, 10 rebounds, a double-double for Jokic, 24 points, 15 rebounds. Jokic was great, except for when Rudy Gobert was guarding him. But yeah, very entertaining series so far. This is definitely going to game 7. I could see either team winning. So that brings us to Tuesday. Very disappointing from the Celtics. They're up 26-13 at one point. It was looking like they were going to run away with it again. But, of course, they do what they always do. They play down to their opponent in game 2. Philly gets back in it, and Celtics pretty much play catch up for the rest of the game. As you can see here, 37 points allowed in the second quarter. And, they shot horribly from 3. They were 13 of 50. That's a whopping 26%. And this was their downfall in last year's playoffs. They settled on 3-pointers way too much. And that's really what cost them the series against the Knicks. So if they even get past Philly and they do end up having to go up against the Knicks. Like, what's the difference? Like, is it going to change anything? So that's why I don't think that they're going to make it out of the East, and I don't think they're going to have a shot to win the title. I just don't see it because they clearly haven't learned um, from last year. They haven't, they haven't shown me that they've learned from their mistakes. They haven't. They're still doing the same thing, dropping game twos at home, settling for bad threes, relying on the three-pointer way too much. When the three isn't going, attack the paint, go for layups, slowly chip away at that lead. You don't need to shoot a three every 5 seconds, so it just annoys me. So Philly ties it up. Going back to, Philadelphia, great game from VJ Edgecombe. 30 and 10 for him, 36 points for Brown. It was a 2-point game at one point, and, they had a chance to come back and, close it out. But, of course, nobody playing defense on Max. He allows him to hit 3 3-pointers to put the game away. So, yeah, very frustrating game. That brings us to the other upset, which, to be fair, Wemby did get hurt in this game. He suffered like a really bad fall, and it looked like he knocked himself out for a couple seconds. It's confirmed that it was a concussion. He's in concussion protocol, so that's not good. Prayers out to him. He's probably going to miss game 3. We'll see if, he'll probably be back around the game 5 range. But the Spurs have proven that they can win without Wemby. I believe they're 11 and something without him. Because he was in danger of not being eligible for awards because he almost didn't meet the 65 game requirement. But he did win Defensive Player of the Year award, and he's a finalist for MVP. But it was a very entertaining game, but phenomenal game from Scoot Henderson, 31 points. He looked like an all-star out there. Blazers bounce back. They take this one, heading back to Portland with home court advantage. 16 and 12 for Vassell. They really needed Fox to step up, and he didn't, but it is what it is. Then we got Lakers, Rockets. The Rockets are absolutely pathetic, man. Kevin Durant did come back in this game, and it really didn't change much. Marcus Smart was able to do whatever he wanted, 25 points, another 20-point game for Kennard. LeBron played phenomenal. The Rockets just look like they do not care. It looks like they just no passion, no heart at all. Şengün's been horrible in this series so far after he was phenomenal in that Warriors series last year. Just no offense going for Houston at all. They don't have an offensive threat to go to besides Durant. Şengün's been horrible offensively and defensively. Şengün can't shoot, or not Şengün, excuse me. Amen can't shoot at all. He's a great athlete, great perimeter defender, but he can't shoot at all. They had Jabari taking threes. Yeah, the Rockets were the overwhelming favorites going into the series. But now it's looking like the Lakers are going to win this series without Luka and Reeves. And LeBron's never lost a playoff series being up 2-0. So keep that in mind. But yeah, very disappointing from the Rockets. They're absolutely pathetic. JJ Redick's been coaching circles around Ime Udoka. So now it's looking like it's a good thing the Celtics moved on from him. But that brings us to tonight's games. Pistons bounced back. It was competitive in the first half, but then the Pistons in the third quarter absolutely steamrolled the Magic. They went on a 30-3 run. They won their first home playoff game since May 2008 when they made the East Finals against the 08 Celtics. They lost that series in 6, and the Celtics ended up winning the championship that year. 27 points, 11 assists for Cade Cunningham. Phenomenal game from him. Disappointing game from Banchero. It's really all she wrote. And then this game just wrapped up. Thunder beat the Suns. They go up 2-0. It was a 10-point game not that long ago. So Thunder must have done something. 30 points from Dylan Brooks, 37 from SGA. Thunder up 2-0, heading back to Phoenix. So we'll see if the Suns can get at least one game. But it's not looking good. But that'll wrap up the NBA part. And then last part of the stream, I'm going to do one final mock draft. And that'll probably be it. Which I'm doing it on PFF, so I can't do trades, but expect a few trades in draft night tomorrow. All right. So first pick is obvious, Fernando Mendoza. Now there has been rumblings that the Jets may end up taking David Bailey, second overall. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think they should go with Arvel Reese, but I do think there's a strong possibility that they end up taking David Bailey. But we're still going to go with Arvel Reese here, second overall. Then the Cardinals, now I think they will trade back, but not really sure with who yet, but still going to take Maui Goa. I think they're going to trade down and take him somehow because offensive line is their biggest need, which you can argue defense. But next we have the Titans at 4. They could get a weapon for Cam Ward like Jeremiah Love. Carnell Tate is an option as well. But with Robert Saleh being a defensive guy, I think he's going to try and get a defensive player. I'm going to go Sony Styles here at 4 to the Titans. I think he's definitely a guy Robert Saleh would want. The Giants at 5, they need to get another receiver. Going to go Carnell Tate here. I think it'll be a good number 2 right next to Frick. Malik Neighbors. All right, and then the Browns gonna go offensive line here. Gonna go Monroe Freeling. Could be a bit high, but he's got great size for a tackle, great athlete. It's a bit raw right now, but could develop over time. Commanders, this is where I have Jeremiah Love going. Because, their offense outside of Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin is weak. So you get Jeremiah Love in there, really good player. Then we have the Saints. I'm going to have them take David Bailey. I think they could trade up with the Cardinals to get him. But edge is a need for them. Chiefs at 9. Could certainly go Jordan Tyson or Caleb Downs. But I'm going to go Ruben Bain here. Seems like a Spags kind of a guy. Then the Giants at 10 get Caleb Downs. So they get 2 Ohio State prospects on offense and defense. So that's what I have them doing there. Then the Dolphins at 11. We're going to go ahead and have them take Jordan Tyson. They need receiver badly. The Cowboys at 12. They are enamored by Mansour Deland, so if he is there, they are 100% going to take him. They need corner badly. And then the Rams at 13. Going to go Mekhi Lemon. Need depth at receiver. Because they really don't have anybody behind Puka and Devontae Adams. Then the Ravens at 14. And go Vega Ione from Penn State. Probably the best guard in the class. Need to improve interior offensive line. Then the Buccaneers. Gonna have them take an edge here. They could go corner as well, but I'm gonna have them take edge. Probably have them go Akeem Mezider from Florida, and then the Jets. Jets are interesting. Let's see, I have them take Arvel Reese, so could go receiver or corner or interior offensive line. This is tough. All right, we're going to have them go Spencer Fano and plug him in as a guard. Then we have the Lions here. Makes it interesting for them because they could use offensive line, but just none available. So they use edge. We'll go Keldrick Falk. The Vikings gonna go Jermon McCoy here. Huge steal for them. Then the Panthers gonna go Kenyon Sadiq, super athletic tight end. Cowboys, they could move down from this spot, but we'll go CJ Allen. They need linebackers. The Steelers up next. Could go receiver, but gonna have them go defensive tackle. Gonna go Peter Woods here. Cam Hayward's getting older. He's not going to play for much longer, so you could have Pierre Woods and Derek Harmon next to each other. Then the Chargers could use interior offensive line. Could go edge, but we're going to go Caden McDonald here, back-to-back defensive tackles here. And the Eagles at 23. Denzel Boston's a possibility since they're moving on from A.J. Brown, but we're going to go Blake Miller here. And then the Browns are going to go Amari Cooper Jr. That's going to be their receiver. And then the Bears, going to go TJ Parker here. Need to improve the run defense. Then the Bills get a steal in Dylan Thieneman. Safety's a need for them. I know he fell a bit low, but that's just how the board fell. 49ers is interesting. They're probably going to take Caleb Lamu. That's the guy they want if he's available. Then the Texans is interesting. Could use offensive line, but there isn't a lot available here. They did trade Titus Howard, so I think Max Ianocker, bring him in as a developmental tackle. Can make a ton of sense for them. All right, then the Chiefs need a receiver. Gonna go Denzel Boston here. Then Dolphins need a corner. Gonna go Avion Terrell. All right, then my Patriots, edge makes perfect sense here. Gonna go Cassius Howell. And then Seahawks, who could look to trade down, gonna go Colton Hood, corner out of Tennessee, since they lost Tariq Woolen. And that is going to be it. But yeah, there's the mock draft. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys next week. Might see some of you on the live tomorrow when we go to react to the draft. But have a good night, everybody. Peace out.